Ekabo.
Welcome, everybody. We hope you are well. I am IFA Jamini Ray.
I am IFA Tegunshe.
And you are tuned in to the greatest podcast
on the planet.
Let's Talk IFA.
Ashe.
Ekabo, everybody. Yes. We are very excited today. We have a very special guest from the community here that operates out of this community in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Sure.
When I first came here, I heard about, this brother from different people. Oh, you got to meet this brother, Reggie. He has the program. He works with the youth, with the young men. They go to Ghana. So I'm like, wow, I was hearing about this brother for a long time. And we finally met. I want to say it was either last year or year before last at the Black Wealth Week Gala that is here in Charlotte. So without further ado, we want to introduce our brother, a king and a warrior, my brother Reggie Singleton from A Mel's Place.
Brother Reggie, welcome to Let's Talk IFA.
Welcome, sir.
Alafia ni adukpe.
Thank you for coming. We're very glad to have you here, to be with us, to do this podcast. You do something that's near and dear to my heart, which is basically, in my eyes, it's a rites of passage program for young men. So thank you, brother, for coming on. We want to give you your flowers now for what you do in the community. I know you've been doing it for a long time, and I know that you are consistent with what you do. So can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and the program that you run now, currently what you have going on and what you're doing?
Hotep, everybody. I'm Omachi Baba Reggie Singleton. I was born and raised on the Sea Islands of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm Gullah Geechee.
Gullah.
So I'm now 62 and been married to my wife Gwen for 34 years coming in.
Oh, man. Black love in the building. Yeah, looking good too, brother. You don't look 62.
Nah, not at all.
Thank you.
Wow.
Three beautiful children from my loins.
I say.
So honored to be able to serve and impact the lives of so many young brothers in the Charlotte community. So I'm the founder and the executive director of the Mel's Place, Inc. It's a manhood training organization. We draw on time-honored traditions, teachings, to help develop, to train young black men in terms of what their goals and responsibilities should be as upright, responsible black men, as husbands and fathers and leaders and shapers of our community.
Sure.
We focus on three major areas. And first and foremost is the manhood training. We meet every Wednesday from 6 to 8, and we focus on African-centered history. That could be a documentary, a lecturer, or a speaker. And we deal with the not only the ancient aspects of our history and tradition. It is important. We also deal with contemporary issues that impact our community and positive things that we're doing. So our manhood training, then there is our second tenet, which is our agricultural work.
Sure.
And I grew up doing very early seasonal migrant work from the age of 6, picking cucumbers and tomatoes out on the Sea Islands, out on Eddie Stowe. Eddie Stowe. And helping mom out. My mom, I was the sixth of 8 children.
Okay.
The first of 2 boys, and had to grow up real soon. And I remember being in those fields from the age of 6 until I was in the 10th grade. And I said, man, God, if you ever get me out of these fields, not gardening, but fields.
Right.
And so I went on and graduated from University of South Carolina.
Okay.
In public health. And my first job after college was I worked with the Department of Corrections. So I was a corrections officer.
Oh, okay.
And saw some beautiful, brilliant young brothers in the system who did not have the safety nets and didn't have the support that many of them needed. And I realized that, as opposed to just doing the intervention on the back end, I really needed to do some prevention. And so I drew on those early experiences that helped me, with a single mom. We had coaches, teachers, community leaders who helped to develop and shape my mindset and some of my philosophies today. So agriculture was big. And I realized that was a solution to some of our problems. I think it was necessary not only to address issues around food sovereignty, but also to control our markets, to control our local food markets, economic markets, et cetera. And so I drew on those early experiences, and we've been growing since 2009.
Okay.
So we are full participants in the food system. We grow, produce, process, distribute. We sell some of our wares at the Rosa Parks Farmers Market, which was started in 2016. And we've traveled around the world to study regenerative agricultural practices too, from some of the great ones like Dr. George Washington Carver. Dr. Booker T. Watley, who was also a professor at Tuskegee University, and of course Booker T. Washington. The works of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Fannie Lou Hamer and others who were huge in food and gathering and organizing our people. So we brought that, and so our young warriors have traveled throughout the world to study food systems, and not just not where we're in a position of dependency and looking for people to feed us like we're pigs, and but where we grow our own food that's clean, and we're able to benefit from the food that we're able to consume. So we've traveled to. This is going to be our third trip to Ghana in June.
Okay.
And we've been to Cuba and Belize, and so we've traveled throughout the world to study these various systems.
So that's part of the trip. When y'all travel out of the country, that's part of one of the main reasons is to study the agriculture and the food systems and the economics and all that stuff.
Absolutely, and then bring that back to
and the
our
culture,
world,
of course,
and share that with the community, of course.
Right.
And then our third tenet is the social justice, community service.
Community service.
Community service. So we serve a lot of the needs of the elders, to include raking their yards, repairing boards, on their houses that might be dilapidated, running errands for them, and just doing check-ins. Making sure that they're good and everything. And then we have the travel program. Again, we've been to the Gullah Geechee regions of South Carolina. We've been to St. Helena's, Beaufort, Charleston. We've gone to D.C. and Baltimore and Maryland Eastern Shore areas. We've been to the Million Man March. We've been up in Virginia and Alabama, certainly. We've really see travel and exposing the young brothers, to places beyond 45 and Beatty's Ford Road is essential toward their development.
It's essential.
Right. And because, one of the things I learned was, and I recall our trip to Ghana back in 2010, our first one, and there was a elderly couple from Atlanta who said that it's taken them their whole life savings to be able to go to Africa, to finally get to the motherland. And the sister told them, said, for you all to be teenagers and to be able to visit the continent as teenagers, it was remarkable.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we understand that while it's a birthright for a whole lot of people, they get to go on spring break and they get to visit their homeland. We get to inculcate them very early with these positive experiences about the continent, about our people, about our achievements and accomplishments, some of the values, some of the teachings, the strategies, the lessons, as well as some of the losses and mistakes we've made.
Right.
And so they'd be able to get to see those experiences and to have some of the elders and the misharis that help to drive our day-to-day operations within our organization is, so grateful for all of those who've come before us, who are now ancestors.
I say.
So we give honor and glory to them.
I say.
So how did the opportunity to go to Ghana, how did that happen?
I was, to be honest with you, I think one of the first time I thought about it was when I went to the 1995 Main Man March.
Okay, I was there.
out there.
I was there.
out there as well.
Yeah.
And I really heard what the minister was talking about, going back to the community. And not just cheerleading, but going back to the community. So I came back to Charlotte. I joined Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Okay.
And so I took up, I was a chair of a African American recruitment task force they had. So we had great challenges in recruiting black men to be
mentors.
Or their checks and, was so difficult to get a lot of brothers who had great intentions.
Right.
But mistakes they may have made
In the past. And a lot of times that's kind of who you need to get through to some of these kids, depending on where they coming from.
Many of them have great credibility.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But unfortunately, Big Brothers and Big Sisters and a lot of the other organizations, they didn't see the necessity of having people who look like these boys.
Right.
To be the lead and to be mentoring.
That's exactly who somebody that's been through it and that can say, look, I did that already. Don't do that.
Absolutely.
It don't end well.
That's right. That's great.
Yeah, they wasn't on that back then.
Yeah.
They wasn't on using those who went through those experiences to
you got to do that to relate to them.
You do.
Because they're not coming from, you put a squeaky clean person in a suit.
Yeah, they're not coming from that world.
Relate to that.
Yeah, they're not coming from, they don't know that world. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took what he said very serious. And then we started, we convened several national conferences. We had, we brought in people like Dr. Naeem Akbar.
Man, now this is still the Big Brother, Big Sister?
No. I did that as a part of the, just a community guy at that point.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So this was grassroots. This was just
grassroots.
You.
Yeah. We brought
Shout out to Naeem Akbar.
Akbar and Dr. Brother from Chicago. Countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys.
Man. It'll come to us. And what year is this?
This was 97.
Okay, 97.
Okay.
And so from that, I realized that, we need to capture the young brothers earlier. And we need to broaden their experiences. We can't just talk about what's going on here, but we got to take them back to the water, as we used to say. Down there.
Take them back to the water.
Back to the water.
To the wilder.
So I remember having a T-shirt with Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. That's who it was.
Okay.
So he was one of our speakers, and I placed on the back one of the symbols, the Giame symbol, which was just to fear God and fear Him only.
I say,
and so I have this concept of going back to the continent was was further planted at that time. But I was also recall as a boy, 14-year-old boy, being inspired from watching Roots. And I was in the 10th grade, and I recall this scene, and this scene has always stayed with me. It was this Contungo, big black brother, who was leading these 12 boys, to include Kunta Kinte, and they were all shaved heads, loincloth, you know, removing the individualism, the I and the me, and replacing it with the we and the us. And so I remember that scene, and what he said to them was that, he said, boys left you for Ray. For men to return, you must arrest your fears. For a fearful man is a weak man. And a weak man is a threat to our tribe and to our village, for we will not permit you to be weak. And so that was this rites of passage concept that I got.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so when we graduate a young warrior through our program, we take them through our rites of passage. Now, they're learning about manhood throughout their whole entirety in the program.
Right.
But we specifically take them through a 6-week, very concentrated manhood training where we have instructors and teachers on various subjects. And as they master those and then read A Vision for Black Men, which is by Dr. Naeem Akbar.
Okay.
And then we do a formal ceremony. And in fact, our lead facilitator with that is a brother who's IFA as well.
Okay.
And so it's a number of different inspirations that I've had, and others have had who have shared and have helped build the organization.
I see.
What's the name of the organization?
It's called The Male's Place.
The Male's Place.
The Male's Place, Inc.
Sure.
And the website is www.themalesplace.org. We've people are I think we've been a real good kept secret in many ways.
Yeah.
You know, and so a lot of people have not been aware of the work, and we've been okay with that. We've been quite quiet and, you know, doing our thing, and we've had some notoriety recently. CBS Evening News came down and did a segment.
Nice. I say.
We've The Observer have covered us, and we've been on several other major news outlets, and we've gotten some funding recently. The Charlotte Hornets funded us $100,000.
Oh, sure.
I say.
The city of Charlotte $100,000. So it is the history of 30 years, and we'll be celebrating 30 years this year.
So you've been doing this for 30 years.
For 30 years.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you know, people are, you probably won't go too far for a person in Charlotte who's lived here, whose son or nephews or has not been connected in some way.
Right.
So they may have seen us, and they may have seen us at the Garden. They may have seen us in parades or have been a student, you know, in some of our sessions. And so we've been very, very fortunate and blessed with some wonderful brothers and some great black families that have come through the organization.
What's the age range for the boys?
They're 12 to 18.
Okay.
So they're
So
12 to
if you're in the
18.
Charlotte area and you're looking for a program, a rites of passage program, or you need help with your young men between the ages of 12 and 18,
12 to 18.
make sure you check out the website. Is that the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Phone number is 704-713-3824. But the website does give them some way to see the history and the body of our work.
Okay.
So we're not Johnny come lately.
Yeah, not at all.
You'll see some of our old work that we've been able to capture. And much of it has not been captured, at least on TV or it's been televised. But we've been doing some incredible work for a long time.
I share.
So it is 12 to 18. We're an African-centered organization. We see strength and beauty in our blackness and our Africans. It's not something we hide or run from.
I say. That's very important.
Absolutely. And we're male-centered too. So we believe that there's strength in brothers, and that brothers are ultimately the start of the solution to regaining our black family. So ultimately, we're about rebuilding our black families.
I share. That's being what we're dealing with today. If you look at the percentage of black families and marriage, let's say marriage.
I think it's 80%, somewhere in the 85% single parent household.
So your organization is very well needed, and more organizations, I'm sure, to help out with the building of African families.
Absolutely.
Because the African family, like we said, the percentage is very low when it comes to marriage. And I think it has to do with a lot of issues. Culture is one of them. Not having a culture or passing on a culture to the young people. That's one of them. And then rites of passage, a lack of what is African
training, the manhood training.
I'm sure that some of these young guys, when they get a certain age, they look at their skin like, okay, I'm black. Like, what does that mean? How far does that, where do my history start at first? But what does it mean to be an African man?
African man. What does it mean to be a man, be an African man? Because you got to get that part down first before you can be a husband and a father. You got to
know your role in your society and your culture.
Yeah.
What's my role? So, we definitely congratulate you and appreciate you even doing that, because it's not a lot.
Certainly needs to be
institutions
more
that do that. I know in the village we have a rites of passage program and things like that. Keep up the good work, and we appreciate what you're doing. And definitely, if you need some assistance, we're definitely.
But we family. We here anytime you need anything. It should be 250 boys in your program at all times, based on the conditions of our youth and what's going on here. Not just in Charlotte, but pretty much in all the urban areas, across the country. I mean, it's an epidemic of ignorance, of violence, of it's not a good education, lack of education, lack of a lot of things, But I think the biggest thing is, your resources in your environment are one thing, but if you have a strong mind and if you have somebody kind of showing you and teaching you the way, it greatly improves your chance of making it.
Yes, sir. In fact, the metaphor that we use, we use our garden as a metaphor for a lot of things, because the cultivation. There's this African proverb that says, "He who does not cultivate his field dies of starvation."
I say.
And so, in a lot of ways, cultivating our young warriors, our seed,
your field, you're right.
It's very necessary, because if we don't cultivate them to what our interest is, to for what their duty is in life as a man, right?
Right.
Then we know that the society will for their interests.
Right.
Of course.
But we got to develop these men, these black men, to ultimately fulfill our duties and our obligations that serves and solve the problems that exist within our community. For instance, if we say we're food insecure, we don't have enough food. Well, you can't go there and keep begging people for food. You can't go to the food bank and then the food banks have have the executive directors and other people who are not even from our community.
Right.
So they're merely feeding us.
Yeah.
And this is a dynamic that they want to continue to do. But we're
The
for
dependency.
sovereignty, the
Right.
dependency. So we want our people to regain some of the science behind food and production.
Yes.
And then learn how to grow it. So our young people, and they could run down the science part of it. They can tell you about macronutrients, micronutrients. They can tell you about the water system. They can tell you about how to properly deal with pesticides free of chemicals, herbicides free of chemicals, and they know how to produce fruits and vegetables, that's seasonal, and free of chemicals. And so then they also learn the business too of how do you communicate with people, how do you present your wares, how do you treat people, so all of that helps them not only in food, but it also helps them in their whole development.
Yeah,
sure.
And life, customer service and communication skills, and all those type of things. And the business is very important too.
Do you have a program for females, or is just specifically targeted for males right now?
Interestingly, we had a female to come over yesterday. It's called Girl Love, I think it is. And it's a sister, Patricia Monroe. And we had a conversation several weeks ago, and she finally had the opportunity to come by yesterday as we were doing our preparation for our Ghana trip. And so we have plans to partner together. So we're going to do some partnerships in the fall. And
that's wonderful.
Dealing with healthy relationships. Because we got to create platforms where black men and black women can communicate.
Yeah.
Have y'all heard the program that they have already with black men and black women communicating? I mean, there's programs out there, but the communication is off.
Yeah.
It's mainly like, I want a man to do this, or I need a man for this, and it's like, well, I want a female for this, and this is why we don't like black women. That type of...
reality TV, is it?
Yeah, like when you see it on there. Not just reality, you have podcasts out there that talk about these things, and it's like, it's not geared around culture. And as we said, what is the African man's duty in the community? What is the African woman's duty in the community? The United States, this Western paradigm is, a woman can do the same thing a man can do.
Absolutely.
A man can do the same thing a woman can do. And this is the problem we have.
And therefore, we don't need each other.
We don't need each other.
Right.
Exactly.
But that is we're wanting to accentuate some of the positive things that happen to black males and black females. And certainly having the opportunity to socialize in a very positive way. For instance, we'll do some stuff around conversations around healthy relationships. But it's going to be from an African-centered perspective.
Yes.
Okay. It has to be.
It has to be.
Because the culture is what we're missing here. We have adopted by default, because we don't have our own culture. We've adopted, someone else's culture, the culture of Europeans, the American culture, which comes from England, whatever. And we see how that's working for us. It's not.
That's right.
Yeah, so it doesn't work.
We'll do some other socialization kinds of activities, ballroom dancing, dancing, because a lot of brothers don't dance anymore. They
don't dance.
But they dance by themselves.
Nice clothes and socialize and show them something different. Because it's
I think it's the generation, because even if I don't go to the club or anything no more, but if you go today, you will see more females dancing with each other than when a male.
Right.
And then the males, like you said, the males are either sitting down with a drink
or leaning on
the wall.
Yeah.
And there's no interaction with the feminine energy. But that's been, I think all of that is set up anyway for that, to be that way.
So we're learning and interacting with each other through social media and other horrific platforms and ways and don't even know how to properly communicate.
Right, face to face, sitting down, talking.
And most importantly, we allow our conversations about each other to be played out in front of the world. And I don't see anybody else doing that.
You know, I forget the sister name. She's a Muslim sister. She writes a lot of books, but she talks a lot about, I remember seeing one thing, I think it was on Instagram. She said she's a Muslim.
Is it Shahrazad Ali?
I think, yeah. Okay. She said we're the only people. She said black women are the only ones that put their black men's business, out in the open on social media and all of that. We're the only people that do that.
Right. Oh yeah. I remember in the '80s when her book came out. It was what every black man needs to learn about black women. And she.
A lot of the women don't like her really for the information she put out.
But she was teaching. She was teaching about roles, duties, responsibilities that work for us. Because it's kind of like education. I mean, if you look at education and say, well, this is a standard education, but standard for what?
For who?
Does the education, is it relevant and does it solve our problem? So if we got a food problem, we need to be teaching our young people that, being a farmer or a grower is not, there's nothing wrong with that.
Negative.
It's positive. Just like with black wealth, we need to be able to really teach our people those kinds of skills very early on. And unfortunately, many of our families don't want to talk about money. So we're able to cover a lot of grounds. We got some great parents in the organization, who make sure their sons get there and they stay dedicated, and making sure that they're there.
That's good.
So the funding that you just got recently, can you explain that a little bit on what was that? How did that come about, and what type of funding that was?
Excellent. In fact, the funding was primarily through LISC, who communicated with the Hornets Foundation around food insecurity. So there's a lot of funding and grants around food. Many times those funding aren't going into our hands, and they often go into white-led organizations' hands. So when you look at food systems, and if you look at in terms of systems, so food banks are these large entities that have warehouse food that they go and distribute these foods. And most of them are usually white women. And so, and unfortunately, a lot of our churches and people that they distribute to don't care where it comes from. They just give me. And I've seen some with very over-ripened black bananas and stuff like that, which is full of sugar and everything. Then you have the food pantries. Then you have the food trucks. Then you have farmers markets. Then you have grocery stores. So all of those are how people get their food. Or you have some who grow their food.
Right.
But we're currently getting about 95% of our food from grocery stores. And so if we're gonna patronize our people in business, we gotta patronize our farmers, and we gotta patronize those people that are in the food. But so LISC was familiar with our history of work, our body of work, our consistency, and so they advised and they support us. And recommended to the Charlotte Hornets a $100,000 funding for our organization to expand what we're doing. So we've been growing since 2009. We're right in the heart of Black Charlotte. We're off of Beatties Ford Road.
Beatties Ford,
and there's a number of seniors over there that we're able to feed. So we've expanded the number of beds. We're going to move our facility back a little bit, and we're hoping to put a greenhouse in there. And a greenhouse would allow us to extend our growing season and to grow more. So that funding was to was to further undergird our expansion of what we were able to produce.
Are you doing anything with the homeless? Because I noticed going downtown Charlotte, the homeless thing is getting kind of, I see kind of an increase in the homelessness, especially over there by the Viper Center where they kind of congregate. And then when the police come, they kind of disperse. But do you have anything that you're doing in the community for the homeless?
Not specifically. There are some brothers, Brother Robinson and Brother Greg and some of the others that are doing a wonderful job with people who are without homes. However, if people come through, now we have done some projects where we have gone to like the men's the men's mission and have done ice cream socials and we've done breakfast and things like that. And that was to help with these young men understanding their need to serve and our necessity to serve.
Right.
And
serve
not look down at people.
Yes.
And not look down at people.
But we serve and provide food to anybody, but particularly those seniors and I'm sure many of them are without homes. And I'll give you an example. So while we do have at our farm, we do have fences there. But on the outside of the fences, we do have you got to check out the peach trees. So we got 2 peach trees, 2 pear trees, a plum tree, and 2 fig trees. And so it's outside, and people help themselves. And we try to promote, get what you need, and then leave some for somebody else.
Right. Don't clean the tree
greedy.
out.
Well, I mean, I've caught them with grocery bags, Walmart plastic bags. I saw a young brother with eating the peach with the salt shaker. So I was like, so he took a perfectly good fruit and was putting salt on it. Salt,
On the peach?
Yeah. Well, now I put salt on watermelon growing up. You didn't.
No, I've heard of that, but I haven't heard of a peach. Whoa.
But there is a need for education too. So we need to be educated about not only nutrients, right? See, because you can have food, and this is what happens with the food banks. They'll give you, carbohydrated, filled, sugary
it's not
stuff.
really that healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy. Yeah. So you might have something that'll fill your belly.
Right.
But it's not nutritious.
It's not nutritious.
It don't help build strong minds and bones and bodies. Right. And so nutrition education is important. Food preparation is important.
Yes.
I grew up and and mom, God bless her, she did everything she could. But she would get them collard greens, man, and cook it 3-4 hours. But we know that you're cooking a lot of the nutrients.
You
gotta drink the pot liquor, as they say. But
pot liquor, right?
But so we got to learn how to cook it so we don't cook the nutrients all out of it, as well as use it in other ways. So, for instance, we teach not only how to harvest. But also how to preserve too.
How to preserve.
Jarring, canning.
Yes.
Because you got to think about, what are we going to eat in January and February?
Right.
Yeah. And so you see these squirrels out here when it's getting, October, November. These squirrels out here, man, they gather and they
they're giving you the sign. They're letting you know.
Right.
Letting you know.
Right. So at least the smart ones are. You might have some foolish ones out there. They play around.
Probably just like people.
Right,
Probably got some that's come wintertime, they knocking on the other squirrel door.
Can I get some? Hey, too bad.
Right.
You should have been stocking up.
That's right.
And let's use this opportunity now to segue. Let's go back. So let's talk about where you were born, your parents, and what your childhood was like.
Yeah, so I was the 6th of 8 children. So I was the first boy. And so my mom had 2 sons, and man, she loved her sons.
Sure.
And even when we got grown and the daughters were doing much of the care, in mom's older age, we both of the sons had moved away, but she loved those sons. And so times were hard. It was
what part of South Carolina?
down in where I grew up in a little place called Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill was the name.
Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill was a little city inside of Young's Island.
Okay.
So Young's Island, John's Island, those were some of the rural areas that was mostly for farming.
Okay.
And you had the other resort type island, you know, you had Kiowa, James Island, and some of the others.
Yeah, James Island is where I got family in James Island.
Okay.
My uncle and stuff, and some of my uncles.
Yeah, so I grew up there, and it was very common for me and a lot of the teenagers to, during the summer, we would do seasonal migrant work. We would pick tomatoes,
harvesting,
cucumbers, right? And we ate some in the field right there. But, you know, if you made $5-10 a day, boy, you did real well.
You're doing all right.
Wow.
And then sometimes during the winter, you would plant trees. You would plant these pine trees. You would have them in a satchel. You would put them out. You know, you shovel and you would plant. And so, just finding ways to help. There was a great deal of exchange and community and bartering, and you know, somebody shared. If somebody grew a lot of corn, they might share that corn with somebody, and you might share your okra with them.
And that's what we need to go back to now.
Was the day,
right. You know?
Yeah. So those were. I remember being guided and led by a lot of the community people in Sugar Hill, and at the age of 10 or so, we moved to another little town called Parker's Ferry. So Parker's Ferry, this was probably maybe eight miles or so from Sugar Hill.
Okay.
So this was on the extreme part of Charleston County.
Okay.
And so it was not incorporated though, so we didn't have the trash pickup, didn't have water, didn't have sewage and all that.
Oh, wow.
Just a bunch of poor people, man, just pulling together.
Yeah.
Organizing themselves. And so I went to I played a little high school football. Played and football was good for me. Sports was good for me. Reading was good for me. And one of the best things, I mean, Mom did so many beautiful things for us. But I remember this encyclopedia set that she bought. And I used to just read that encyclopedia, man. And this is how I travel and study the world. And so I used to know capitals of all these cities and countries and stuff. And you know, you would think I'd been there, but I've never been there. It's I've just been reading. And so anything I used to get, I wanted to read. I remember. Y'all remember this newspaper called Grit newspaper?
I don't.
In South Carolina?
No, I think it was somewhere up north, but it was
Grit.
It was called Grit. So they used to send me these stacks of newspapers, and I used to go around and sell them, and never had any hold on. Like, look, I buy the newspaper. And so I went on and graduated from high school, and then I was considering the military, and my high school coach encouraged me to go to college, and so I went to USC, graduated in public health, and again have 3 beautiful children and a beautiful wife, Gwen, Sister Gwen, Mama Gwen. We've been married 34 years coming up.
Wow.
This September.
34 years coming up in September.
34 years, yeah.
What's your number one advice on how to stay married for 34 years?
It's good. You know, the most challenging year for us was the first year.
It was the first year.
The first year.
Yeah, they usually say if you could get past that first 3 to 4 years.
Wow,
man, let me tell you something. It was much of the challenges and disagreements we had was centered around roles. centered around roles.
Right.
And I remember we
Interesting.
would have some disputes about, who is the head of the household, and
all of those
and
things
shared head of the household.
Right.
But to my wife's credit, beautiful sister, very smart sister, and she had great examples of her mom and dad as well. But I remember we were at this church one time and picking up my daughter from this school at a church, and it was an older sister, and she started talking to Gwen, and I kind of just moved back.
Right.
So I just moved back, and so she was telling Mama Gwen about preparing meals. And she said, you got to remember that when you're preparing meals, it's not just the food. She said,
talk to me.
She said, it's the presentation.
Talk about it.
So she said, you got to have the little decoratives. This thing's got to be set up like you're feeding a king. I didn't say anything.
I'm just listening.
Right. And I'm going, get her. You know what I'm saying?
Tell us some more.
Oh, absolutely. So, and poor people have poured into both of us. We've had the benefits of. I think one of the great, and there's a number of great things with elders. I mean, with the different generations, and part of our role is to share those experiences, impart those experiences, share the wisdom with the upcoming generation.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So how are they going to know? I mean, because it's not like you get a whole lot of dry runs with. Excuse me. It's not like you get dry runs, and it's not like there are a whole lot of manuals and stuff out there. But it's important that the elders have these opportunities, these forums to impart that wisdom.
Yes.
And these young people humble themselves.
And listen.
They will listen.
It's important that they humble themselves and they listen to the advice of the elders, because some men and women, younger, they don't want to listen.
And so some things you'll learn only from a person who's done it before.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times it's the young people will. The young people, I'm saying, if you start them off like 7 years old, they have no choice but to listen. Right. Now, if you have a young person, let's say 21 to 27, in this time, if they had no training or anything, the only thing they know is, you got to deal with the ignorance. But when you speaking like that, you have some of them that they'll challenge you. Like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know about what you're talking about.
It's a crapshoot.
All I know is
some will listen, and
so it's figuring out a way to get through to certain people. I don't think everybody is gonna.
Nah, you can't.
Everybody ain't gonna listen.
Everybody's not going.
But the ones that you can get through, you work with them
and keep it moving.
But if you start them off young,
the younger the better.
The younger the better.
There are some strategies I think we could use. If you got 3 or 4 cats over there and they doing something disrespectful, and as you assess them, and you got to assess them, how do I approach them? Should I approach them or whatever? But I struggle with not doing. I mean, so I feel so compelled. And my wife will sometimes say, you keep sticking your nose in people's business. But I struggle with just walking away or pretending I don't see it or I don't see it. So I think there are ways to do it. Some of the things I've done is I would isolate the person who might be doing something. I might isolate him and talk with him one-on-one. and if you come across humble and appeal to their goodness, you can have some success with some of them. Now, you don't want to humiliate them.
Right.
You don't want to embarrass them.
Right.
Because that's all they got.
You can't talk at them because that's what they're used to.
And you got to be affirming.
Right.
Young brother, king.
Right.
Edify him a little bit.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Because nobody probably ever does that.
That's right.
Yeah. Let him know who he is. Really, who he is.
Like
Yeah.
So, but we certainly can't get to a point where we're afraid
scared
of them, scared of them, or we act like we don't see them.
Right. Like
So you might get cussed out, you might get hit in the head or whatever, but it's something we got to continue to do, and create opportunities where they revere the elders. In fact, we did one of our sessions a few weeks ago. Was on the edification of the ancestors, where they learn to respect and honor those good ancestors.
Sure.
You know, and certainly respecting the elders as well. And there's also a need for us as elders to understand we have a big responsibility to be keepers of our community and our culture as well, and demand certain things.
Right.
You know, because we can't just be old. We got to be elders. Right.
Yeah, that's important. Big part of that's the blessings of I think of ancestor veneration is remembering our elders and those things that they passed on to us, that we continue to do those things and pass them down. And then you will see it in the blessings come is when you see those children prosper from the discipline, the humility, the patience, the obedience, and that's the blessing, not just for you personally, but for the whole community.
For the whole community, because all of us, including the youth, are carrying on the mantle of our ancestors. So we're supposed to carry ourselves a certain way, because you may have your living family. And you don't want to like embarrass them, you don't want to be, you want to be somebody that people look at that, you're a good person and that the family can be proud of this child or these people. And also that goes for the ancestors too. Like we want to impress them. We have a load to carry on our shoulders that, we have to carry ourselves a certain way because of their legacy, and what they did, we have to continue that. And in order to get that part, they have to tap in to be able to honor and venerate the ancestors and understand the importance of it, of tapping into that energy, because it's just a continuation. We're not disconnected.
Right.
We live in this physical world, but the spirit world cannot be ignored because we have to deal with both of them here.
Sure.
Baba
Akin Bola did a beautiful job with the ancestral veneration for us.
I say.
Really, yes. But I do believe, though, our best days are still ahead of us.
Of course.
I think we got some very positive young brothers that are doing real good things. And it's not always recognized. And but I think it is important that we accentuate some of the good and positive things that's happening. Even though we're just inundated with the images of us on TV and newspapers and things like that.
If it's not recognized with the physical eye, the ancestors definitely recognize it. So, and that's the biggest recognition,
that is.
Ancestors.
And I think that we can use some of these tools that are being kind of used against us to combat that and show the light and the positive things that are going on, more. That's how we can use social media and the technology to, combat the negative images and things that are being put out there that people are inundated with, it's funny because when you go to other countries, like I know, for instance, in China and Asia and certain other places, what they see on TV of us is usually the videos and the reality TV shows, and a lot of those people think that's just us,
right?
And that's done, of course, on purpose.
Right.
You know,
especially in some African countries and Asian, you know, they think, like you said, they think, oh, they over there having a good time. They partying. They look at the pretty girls in the videos, and they, you know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go there and party too.
Right.
Yeah.
But when they get here, they like, whoa.
Right.
You know, it's a whole different.
It's a little different.
Very, very, very good point. I mean, because we have those conversations with them. Even when we've gone there, we see the westernization and how they have, in many ways, forgotten their culture, their history, their duties.
Colonialism.
We're reminding the diaspora are the ones really the driving force that has reminded Africa to go back to your tradition and your culture and your roots. This is very interesting phenomenon that's going on right now. Even with going back to Fela, the Fela Kuti, you know, was a sister here that sparked that revolutionary mindset.
And Fela,
right?
Yeah.
Well, Fela, you know, Fela even said, you know, when he came to America, he got his inspiration of music. James Brown
and all the stuff that was
going on. And all of the stuff was going on. And like you said, the revolutionary mindset, when he got over here, he got a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that encouraged him and gave him the confidence to write what he was writing.
That's right.
And to liberate a lot of people in this country. But I don't think we don't get enough credit over here for doing that.
Yeah.
We don't, as African Americans in the diaspora, we don't get enough credit for sparking the consciousness of our African brothers and sisters in Africa to say, hey, liberate yourself from colonialism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't get that credit. And so we need to start getting that credit.
Because if you think about it, the father of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who went to Lincoln University in Philly. And so it was he who sparked and led Ghana into the first of the African nations, you know, below the Sahara.
I say.
The
Sub-Saharan.
Right. So he was greatly inspired from blacks here in America. You know, and so, and then he, of course, led a whole movement. With African nations liberating themselves, but they still have significant challenges because they get indoctrinated and they come to here or the UK
over there,
and they get this miseducation, and pursue materialism just like some others, and so
leave the culture behind. Embrace this new Western ideology, the individualism, the material. You know that the language is not important anymore. Nobody really speaks the language. Maybe a few elders,
or even their names.
And the names,
You know, they will give you their so-called Christian name.
Yeah. They want to give you
what's your name, brother?
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the name. It's Johnny.
Right. Right. And so
Johnny.
So
I am Johnny.
So we went the last time we was in Ghana. We wanted to have a little fun too, so we did go to their malls and
got to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Did you go to Accra Mall?
We went to the Accra Mall.
Yeah, and nice mall, very nice mall.
And we went to Labadi Beach. Did you go there?
Maybe it was like a market, like a huge flea market set up out there. I'm not sure which beach I was at, but it was right near in Accra.
Well, Labadi Beach is it's like it's incredible. And I later learned that you shouldn't go on Sunday evening. So anyway, so Sunday evenings, I mean, it was live.
Okay, it's a little too turned up.
Oh yeah. But I mean, you probably think you're in. God, it was incredible.
Yeah.
So we would not, when we go back, we're not going to go on a Sunday evening.
On a Sunday evening, not with the kids.
Not with the kids. Not with the kids. It would hurt, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. So it's going to be a great experience. We'll learn a lot. We'll have fun. We'll eat great food. We'll see the culture. We'll go into the village too, and not just the cities. We'll go into Accra, which is the capital. But Kumasi is the cultural capital.
Right.
There.
Okay.
And then we'll go up to Cape Coast, where the dungeons are, Elmina and Cape Coast dungeons up there.
I said that's
man.
That's
So
great,
how often do you do this? Every year or every other year? Or
well, we're as we get funding, we want to be able to do more with this. We're not interested in just patting anybody's pockets. We want to spend this money on educating these boys.
These young men,
And so we want to be able to do an annual trip where they get to see the world.
Annual trip,
because a lot of our boys. Schools might say, well, your mom got a raise, $5,000 or you don't have the right temperament. You won't learn how to behave. So they don't take you. But I submit to you that those are the ones that need to go.
That's the ones that need it.
They need to go.
They need it. You must be surprised when you take them ones over there and how they'll come back.
Yeah, they come back.
Whole different.
You got to come back different.
That's
You can't go to Africa and come back the same.
Yeah,
that's right.
Because some young people they just need that to straighten them out. Just like a little trip.
Just a trip.
Right.
Could change their whole life.
So we do service projects when we go. We was in Belize this summer.
Okay.
And we built a home for a family, and these are very, very modest homes. I mean, this was like a 12 by 12.
Okay. Yeah, nice.
We might see this a little shed, but it's kind of those little tiny houses.
A tiny house,
it's kind of like that, and we built that in a week.
Okay.
And so they get to see how other people live in Central America. And they said, Baba, Reggie, we eating beans again tonight, beans and rice again tonight. It's like, it's like, look, this is how a lot of people live around the world.
Hey, welcome to reality.
No DoorDash or Uber
Welcome
Eats.
to Pizza Hut, Chick-fil-A.
No fast food.
Beans and rice.
Not a whole lot of fast food,
Did y'all build the house with the help of the locals, or was it
with the help of the locals?
Okay. Man, when I went over to Nigeria, it was in the country for 2 weeks. So I was eating a lot of just, like fufu,
starch,
stuff like that, starchy with palm oil in it. So just a couple of days before we, came back to the States, I was like, I'm tired of eating this food.
Right.
So me and the friend that we went to get initiated to IFA over there, we was in Lagos. So we left Oshogbo, went to Lagos to stay for a few days, and we was catching a flight.
Yeah,
so we went to Lagos. We was like, oh, Pizza Hut. Let's go get some Pizza Hut. So I'm thinking the taste is going to be like,
nope.
Yeah, so I went over, got some pizza, took one bite. I was like,
That's not
it. It wasn't the same.
Nah.
Yeah.
Got some ice cream. It was like, just
a lot of stuff is not. It don't taste the same.
Different taste. But the thing is, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things is we tend to load our stuff with sugar too. So we become addicted to that sugar.
Yeah, that's true.
Because to get that old pizza to taste good and get that old McDonald's burger to taste good, I mean, they load it up with some stuff.
It's loaded up.
Yeah.
It's loaded up.
Make you come back and back and back.
It's set up. It's designed for us to fail.
Right.
Yeah.
Food, all the pharmaceutical, they all work together. We're going to get them unhealthy with the food. We're going to put them on this medicine for the rest of their life.
Yeah, they got it set up
or we're
for
going to
you.
do the surgery.
McDonald's,
it's all set up.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, Church's Chicken. Then you got a Walgreens where you can go get the medicine.
You got your liquor store.
You got a pharmacy thing where you can go. You got the liquor store.
It's all there for you.
All of that.
It's all there for you.
Then they got the hospital right up the street.
Right. So go ahead and get your poison.
Right.
We got the pharmacy.
For you.
And if we need to cut on you,
we got that's even more money.
Right.
Right.
But
no farm in the area.
So in the when we and I'll give you here's some interesting thing around economics too. For instance, in 2010 we visited a cocoa farm.
Okay.
And so Ghana is world's second producer in cocoa beans, to make coffee out of, and chocolate.
And chocolate.
Right.
So the Ivory Coast, right next to Ghana, is the number one producer.
Okay.
So they have those two.
Yeah.
Those two countries is using a lot of their arable land and space to produce these coffee beans.
Okay.
But they don't want those countries in the business of the processing.
Exactly.
So the money's in the processing.
Right. So they got to ship it out.
They got to ship it out into Europe.
Somewhere, Europe.
And so you have Nestle, Canterbury, all these other chocolate companies processing it,
right,
and then selling it back to you.
Selling it back to you. What sense does that make?
Right. Then you got to deal with the slave labor that goes along with it, because they do kidnap. In the Ivory Coast, they kidnapping them little kids and putting them on them cocoa farms.
Cocoa farms as well as fishing farms.
And fishing farms, right.
So we've got to control. We just had that conversation yesterday. We have to control that narrative and that industry around the processing of all, because all the raw material comes from Africa.
Absolutely.
So I don't know why we haven't done it yet. I'm not entirely sure. But
well, we while we got many strengths and beautiful things as a people, be it here or on the continent. I mean, we got some greedy people,
some challenges.
That we need to,
because they put people in power that they want to have that will let that continue. Right. They're not gonna put anybody in power that's going to take over the processing and put it in the country. And if there is somebody in there that wants to do that, and they don't want to play ball with the United States and other European countries, they get you out of there. And this is all facts. Like everybody knows this, right? If you don't play the way they want you to play,
you out.
They get you out of there one way or the other.
And Thomas Sankara was one great example. He was the president of Burkina Faso, and as they gained their independence from the French, the French government says, y'all don't need to get into the agriculture stuff. We'll take care of it.
We'll take care of that.
And he told them, he who feeds you controls you. So we're not interested in being controlled by you all. And so we're interested in being sovereign and free and self-determining. And what did they do with him?
Yeah.
They took him out.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's very known. I mean, the information's out there. I don't think the masses of people that just kind of consume news every day, and I really don't think a lot of them don't know how America actually operates. But if you have kind of a little bit of a conscious mind and you listen to other material or you read or something, it's out there. There's a guy, I forget his name, but that was his position in the United States government. It was a white guy. He does different interviews and stuff like that, and he'll tell you like that was his job.
Yeah.
So
wow. Yeah.
Patrice Lumumba.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Gaddafi.
Absolutely.
A lot of them. Hugo Chavez, Venezuela.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And it's important to teach our youth this history so they understand the reality.
And how they move.
And how America really operates as opposed to the front.
And destabilizing these countries.
Of course.
And then say, look at them. They're unfit to govern themselves, and therefore
savages.
So
we're going to put who we want in there.
Right.
After you the one that destabilized them, whatever oil or whatever natural resources, or whatever it is, gold, we understand how all this stuff works. And the youth, they need to know the truth behind the history and how America operates. I was on a flight recently and I watched a documentary about the Lakota Indians and a lot of stuff here in this country. I'm going to send that to y'all. If you haven't seen it,
I think you
got to watch it.
I think I've seen the one on the Lakota Indians.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't even know that happened right here in this country. Like, for instance, with Mount Rushmore, I never really knew a lot about it. I don't remember learning a lot about it in school, and I just know it's, you got the four the presidents or whatever that are carved in the side of this mountain. But I had no idea, like, that whole story is deep. Those are the black culture, the black hills, those black mountains are sacred. That's like Mecca to them. To the Native Americans from here, from Turtle Island, from North America. That place and those hills are very sacred, like super sacred. Holy ground. So if you saw what happened, they were trying to run that pipeline through there a few years ago, and they just refused. And then you had other people that joined them on that movement, and they finally won. That was the Lakota that was out there in that same area. So now
they're fighting for their land.
They're trying to get the land back. America wants to pay them for it. They said, no, we don't want the money. We need our land.
That's
so that's kind of what's going on now. But we don't learn. You don't learn any of that stuff in public school.
They put those faces up there to say
now we spiritually we conquered you.
Conquered you spiritually,
economically, physically,
on all levels.
Yeah, that was the ultimate spit in the face. Domination. Display to carve our faces in that sacred mountain.
Right. This is how they show their domination, by posting their faces up there, and they show that they've defeated you by pulling statues that might be of you down.
Exactly.
Because when we go to Ghana, they pulled down, in fact, knocked off the head. Of and you remember they had Saddam Hussein. One of the first things they did was what? Pull the statue down. Drag the statue.
Like your hero is dead.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's those statues represent the ancestors. It's like we pulling your culture, your tradition, everything. We knocking it down.
Yeah. It's deep.
And it's important that we transfer this information, this knowledge to the younger generation.
Yes.
As young as possible.
Well, this is one reason why we're doing what we're doing here, because this is archive.
I applaud you.
And this is going in history.
Yeah.
So our young people here, you, yourself, and everybody else we bring on to educate.
Yeah. Because I know that there's some other organizations that work with the youth. I don't think we can have enough because the condition of our people and our youth, and for the females as well, for the young women. And I think that we need to find a way to come together and work together more. Because a lot of people are kind of doing similar things, but everybody's in their own little pocket. So even if you have your own organization, but maybe once a month or every other month, we do a joint event, right, in the community where all the groups that mentor young men come together and do some type of activity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, we're wanting to do a national conference, kind of like the national ones we did back in the 90s with Kunjufu and Akbar. And that was a national conference. We did it at UNC Charlotte, and we brought all of the different mentorship
from across the country.
And not only mentorship, but also people who work with black boys, teachers, counselors, principals. And if you work with our children, this is what you need to be getting.
Welcome to come.
You need to have some minimal education about our history, our customs, and also have a better appreciation for what we're dealing with and how this condition has got to be where it is. Because some would have you believe we're inherently, naturally in the condition we're in.
No. That was created.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
That was created. And again, you go back, that's the importance of having your organization or your rites of passage program to be African-centered. Doesn't have anything to do with religion. Right?
That's right.
We're talking about not religious, it's a spiritual thing. So whatever your religious background is at home, it's all good. Spiritual principles of nature, principles of universal law, principles of African cultural traditions and manhood,
That's what Malcolm said, leave your religion in the closet.
Yeah. That's true.
I always say, the spirit, when we talk about spirituality, the spirit is in your food.
Sure.
The spirit is in your
trees.
It's in the trees,
in the air,
it's in nature. Period. But
Yep.
it's in the language that you speak. It's in the drum. It's in the music. It's in
it's in your thoughts.
It's in your thoughts.
In your speech, in your actions.
Every aspect of your culture, the spirit is in that.
And the culture is the manual, the basis by which we operate.
Exactly.
And once we lose that, the result is what we see today, which is a total and utter mess. You know?
About Sageman used to say, a culture teaches one how to think, act, and behave. That's your culture.
Yep.
And those things that we just mentioned is what, as you said, is the manual for one's
That's the rule book. It's
so
you know,
you got to eat. Like in African American communities, you see a lot of different cultural foods. Chinese food. Now you got the Mexican. You got the Indian. It's because we don't have a culture.
we don't have
so we
our
go
own.
right to those
So we just go,
places
you know,
to eat.
McDonald's and Burger King and all that is
But
cheap.
that's not a culture.
You know,
or what they call soul food.
Right, that's not good.
And that's not our food.
That's
Yeah.
part of the enslavement.
Exactly.
Part of them enslaving us was
Yeah.
giving us that food.
and a lot of it with even with that is the so-called soul food is the preparation of it. You know, and how that's really important too. You know,
some
it's the
people
preparation of our food.
Yeah, two ways: fried and deep fried.
I know with some people that's gonna watch this part and say, "Well, I don't care what y'all saying. I'm gonna eat me some collard greens." Man,
Nothing wrong with the collard greens and the
potatoes.
cabbage, but when you too much fried food, we don't want to do that. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Too much starch,
Eating me some
and
chicken and some
sugar
pork
is
chop.
what we don't want to do.
Right.
You
What
know?
them fools talking about? You know, it's like
And you know, it's moderation. My grandma passed at 99. She ate a little pork chop every now and again. You know, for the most part, she was eating vegetables. She didn't eat a whole lot of starch. They knew how to eat and they knew how to live.
Yeah.
and they were moving too. So,
Yeah.
so you have you have to have an active life too.
Yes,
So
Yes.
yeah.
You got to be
A lot of
moving.
people
We too
today
comfortable.
sit.
It's too convenient.
Yeah, a lot of people we sit.
Yeah,
We sit.
yeah.
You know,
But you
everything.
can't eat that poison and just sit there or lay down there.
Just settling in.
Yeah, you got to move. And those
Yeah.
cats back then was working.
They was working.
You know,
Yeah.
10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, they was moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they
They
was
was
active.
moving.
They was able to live a little longer. Yeah. Oh, shit. Wow.
So, what going forward? You've been doing your program for 30 years. I think what's the biggest thing that you've learned from working with the youth over that time, and is there anything different or new that you want to try to do in the future?
Yeah. One of the things I stress with the warriors is, and we refer them as warriors, very intentionally, you know, overcomers, battlers, fighters, you know, whatever it is. And we instruct them to take their warriorhood wherever they go. You know, and this is whatever endeavor they're in.
Right.
They're in a warehouse, they're in prison, they're working for the government, they're working for corporations. You take your warriorhood and use those skills, you know, to assist and solve the problems of our people.
Oh, sure.
And I've learned to never underestimate anybody. You know, as we've developed these young men over the years, some may come to you in a variety of different ways.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you got to learn not to underestimate.
To judge them, underestimate them, or overlook them, or count them out.
to
'Cause
count
you
'em
never
out.
know.
You never know. In fact, those might be your most
be.
best warriors. Yeah.
That's important. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
So as we continue to develop as an organization, I also work in public health too. So I have two full-time jobs.
Okay.
I hope to be able to turn my full attention to the Mills Place.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
And give my very best to our
Okay.
people.
So that's a full-time job working in public health.
Yeah, working in public health. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So as far as different funding, what is it, grants, or is it, what type of funding have you gotten or would you like to get?
Well, through the years, most of our funding has actually come from private individuals, people like you brothers who would say, I see what you're doing, I like what you're doing, I value what you're doing.
Sure.
I'm gonna, take this $10, take this $20, or take a check or whatever. We give them vegetables, and they say, well, we want to give a donation. So this is how we've been. So we've never been an organization. We've never been built for. We've been built to do this work with funding or without funding.
Sure.
And so,
Like that.
so we've until recently. That's why I said earlier. Some this funding is recent funding. So we've gone through the years where I'm out of my pocket, or some of the others are, pulling money from their own families
That's amazing.
to help feed these boys and help provide for these boys. And so I see it as my personal assignment and a duty as a black man, as a husband and father, to do more. Not just certainly for my children and family, but also for the black family.
Wow.
With that black uniform. So, and I'm very unapologetic about that. And
Wow.
and so we try to bring in like-minded people and who share that same goal, and whatever gift they bring, we try to fit in.
So if they're for our viewers, for our watchers, if you want to make a donation to the brother Reggie for Mel's Place, how can they get you that money?
So we have the website, and you can go to www.themelsplace.org, and there is a donate page there. There's donate at the bottom, at the top, and all over the place. You'll find it. Okay. But
donate.
Absolutely. And but if you want to do Cash App, we also have a Cash App there as well, and it would be $ The Mel's Place Inc. And also checks at our P.O. Box 16184, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28297. 28297. So those are ways, and my phone number again is 704-713-3824. It's getting a little late, I think.
What's my phone number?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we getting ready to wrap up here soon.
Let's donate to this brother and the great works that he's doing in Charlotte with the young males.
Yes.
Teaching them how to be African men.
Right.
Come on, donate. Please donate.
No amount is too small.
Absolutely. No amount too small.
For the program, is there a fee to join, or is it a certain length of time? Is it like how? That'll be the last thing we touch on. Is can you kind of give us the overview of how everything works?
Yeah. So there's no enrollment fee. We don't charge people, but I do believe that you got to have skin in the game to value what you're doing. So we'll do some fundraisers. We're going to do a popcorn fundraiser sale in August.
Okay.
And we've done we've done fruit sales. Of course, we sell at the farmers market too.
With the garden.
Right. So we believe that it's important to have, people got to have ownership in what you're doing.
Yes. Definitely.
And so, again, we do charge them for the T-shirts. We got a new logo, and so it's the pyramid, which is excellent. It's purple, for royalty, and and so
I see.
And so we meet every Wednesday from 6 to 8. Saturdays from 9 to 11 is agriculture. Wednesdays is our manhood training. And the first Wednesday night covers our manhood training and African history.
Okay.
And the second Wednesday covers career exploration. We talk about...
So this is in the month, the first Wednesday of the month.
Right, then the second Wednesday.
Okay, the second Wednesday of the month
we do career exploration. So this we will have different presenters from different industries. Particularly more than just sports and entertainment.
Right. When you get ready, you gotta bring me in because my career, my day job is in IT.
Okay.
So I've been in cybersecurity the past 10 years, and that's what I enjoy. I already do it now. Just I don't have a formal thing, but whenever you're ready, just text me. I'll come through and I can talk to them about the IT field, specifically cybersecurity and cloud engineering, AI stuff like the hot spots. So
we will definitely do that.
Yeah,
we'll have speakers coming, or we go and tour particular, different industries.
Right.
Trades.
That's pretty cool.
We go and visit trade schools and
different
businesses and corporations.
Okay.
The third week we call that a group discussion, and so the Warriors. This is a young man-led discussion where they get to discuss, explore things they're coping with, things they're dealing with at home, at school, and things like that. And so that's every third Wednesday. And it could be something as could be absent fathers. It could be just a variety of things. How they're dealing with stuff and making recommendations to their peers, which is powerful because they might say, "Well, Reggie, you old," but when their peers say, "Well, Mama's doing this, Mama's doing that," it gives them, great influence. And so the fourth Wednesday is our parent and family night.
Okay.
So parents are required to attend on that fourth night.
Okay.
And they bring the other siblings.
Okay.
And that's a parent. We do parenting education because we build the whole family. We call ourselves TMP family.
Okay. So the fourth night is parent and family. So you do something for the parents.
Absolutely.
Wow. Covering all the bases.
Absolutely.
Building relationship.
We've done educational as well as just good experiences for the parents. We've had some Reiki sessions for the parents.
For the parents. Okay.
Absolutely. And then when there is a fifth Wednesday, there aren't a whole lot, but when there is one, we call that refinement, and this is where they get to learn self-improvement kinds of things. It could be public speaking. It could be how to tie a bow tie or how to tie a tie. It could be about etiquette. How to pitch a tent. How to bait a hook.
Okay.
How to interact with women. So you got to show them.
You got to show them and teach them. How else are they gonna know? We tend to assume like they just supposed to learn by osmosis, but it don't work that way.
Right. And then on our Saturdays, during the growing season, we meet at the garden, and the growing season is usually April to about December.
Okay.
So we meet at the garden, and we have some powerful sessions there around the fire too. So we build a fire, and we'll throw some sage on there, and we have some real nice discussions. But when the growing season is over, then we meet and do more enrichment group discussions on Saturdays
With different topics.
Different topics, or even this is when we do some of our community service as well.
The community service on those Saturdays.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, brother, that is excellent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, that is.
Wow, thank you.
I'm trying to think of a word that describes the magnitude of what you're doing, but I can't really think of one.
You can do it. Give thanks.
I say.
Give thanks. Modupe.
That is definitely the work of the ancestors that you're doing. The ancestors are channeling you to be a vessel to do this work and to carry on this tradition.
Oh, sure.
Because, it's needed. It's not easy to do. You still got a full-time job and a family. So, You know, it's definitely a sacrifice. So we applaud you. And, you know, we appreciate you. For everybody that's watching, please, no amount is too small. Donate towards the cause. If you have young men, this is a great program to put them in. If you are in Charlotte or the surrounding areas, if you have any expertise on fundraising or getting funds, you know, link up with the brother and, you know, let's support each other. And yeah, let's make it happen. So with that, this concludes another episode. I am Awo Ifa Jaminire.
I am Awo Ifa Tegunshe.
We want to thank our guest again, Brother Reggie Singleton from Emil's Place. You know, we appreciate you, brother. Like I said, we
very much.
Give you your flowers now while you're here. Keep doing what you're doing. May God and the ancestors continue to bless you. And this very important work that you're doing in the community.
May you have the strength and the victory to progress forward. May you have the protection of the ancestors, the protection of the Orisha, so that you can continue to progress forward with the works you are doing. May the ancestors continue to support you.
And you have tuned in to another episode of the greatest podcast on the planet. Let's Talk IFA.
Odabo.
Aseo, Adupe, Aguato, Asuri Wodi Wofun. Till next time.
Aseo.
Peace and blessings, everybody.
Peace.